And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Andy Webb with Lifestyles Unlimited, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. And I've got some great news for you. I am filling in for my last day for Al Gordon. He will be back behind the mic very soon. So this will be my last chance to do Tell Al Tuesday, and I'm happy to be with you. I do thank you for joining, and I'm happy to be joined by our guest today. I had the opportunity to meet her a few times when I've been down a little bit south of where I sit in Dallas-Fort Worth, in Austin, and in San Antonio. In fact, she is from Al's area. She's from down in San Antonio, and I picked a line from her bio that I want to share with you, and she said this of their time, their outlook before becoming members at Lifestyles Unlimited, and I quote this here. She says, "It wasn't a matter of retiring early. It was a matter of retiring at all." That's kind of a depressing phrase, and you may identify with that. And we're going to hear on today's show how her outlook has changed. And if that is your outlook right now, it's a matter of retiring at all, well, stay tuned and listen closely. Carla is going to be joining me. Carla, welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you for having me on, Andy. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, I always am very thankful when someone is willing to come on the air and share their story. Everybody has a little bit of a different story, coming from a different place, having a different outlook, as you did, you and your husband, back, 5-6 years ago. So it's very helpful for the listener, really, to get a variety of backstories and guests. So thank you for joining me. And if you would, just to kick us off, maybe think back about half a decade or so. Tell us a little bit about your family, yourself, what you were doing at the time, how things were looking in life.
Well, we thought we were doing great. We both have great jobs and getting the bills paid, getting the kids through school and getting them what they needed. But we did a lot of that with credit, and it was day-to-day paycheck. And we just assumed that, the paycheck would always be there. And when we started realizing what happens when the paycheck isn't there any longer, then what? And we had made some plans for retiring, but obviously it wasn't enough to really retire us. And we began to be concerned about that because we didn't want to end up with nothing and have the kids have to take care of us. It's supposed to be the other way around. So that's when we started looking for some options.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard the phrase sandwich generation. That's where I sit, Carla. I've got the son that's coming up behind me, the little 5-year-old, and then we've got my wife's parents ahead of us, and we are sandwiched squarely in between. So if their plan, her parents, if their plan is to rely on us, well, we're stuck now. And if that was your plan, or if that's the plan of the listener out there, not a good plan. So you realized paycheck to paycheck, bills, paying with credit card, etc., not a good plan. How did you shift gears? What made you, I guess, how did you hear about Lifestyles Unlimited, and what got you on board with us? How'd you make that shift?
We heard initially from a friend of my husband's, and who is actively in the business with me. He's my best supporter, but I do most of the real estate investing. But anyway, he had a friend who had joined, and he took all of his IRA money and invested in an IRO. And when my husband came home and told me that, I just thought he was nuts. He had no experience with real estate, and, what's he doing now? He's used all of his IRA. And we followed him for a while, and he did great. So he shared some information with us, and we went to a meeting. And when we got to the meeting, there were actually several people that we had already known that just had not told us about Lifestyle. So we feel like we had missed the party somehow, but we got in as soon as we could.
Yeah, just to unpack a couple of abbreviations there. IRA, we know what that is. That's the independent or individual retirement account. IRO, on the other hand, that's independent rental owner. So your friend, who was a Lifestyles member, cashed out his retirement account and used that to buy his own multifamily. That's what IRO means. I take down an apartment community completely by myself. And like everyone else out there in conventional wisdom America, you guys thought he was crazy to cash out that retirement account, right?
Yes, we sure did. I thought that's all he's got. But look what he did with it. He did phenomenal.
Yeah, he took it out of this mysterious black box of mutual funds and things that go up and down. I mean, we've all been experiencing, or at least watching, the roller coaster ride of late, and he put it into something that's very, very physical, very tangible, something where he has control. So wonderful opportunity for you guys, and clearly somebody that's a little bit farther down the path to help bring you guys along, and I'm glad he got you guys connected with Lifestyles. When about was this? What year were we talking about?
That was November of 2016 when we joined.
Okay, November 2016. And once you joined, what were your next steps? What did you do?
Well, the first step was to find some money to invest because, like I said, we were living on credit. We didn't have anything. So David Fisher was doing the 2 days at the time, and he showed us how to refinance our home, put us in touch with one of the Lifestyles vendors. It was actually Rich Nunez from AMP Lending, and he helped us refinance our home so we could restructure our finances, pay everything off, and we had $25,000 left. And we were scared to death of doing any multifamily stuff, so we did what we could and invested in a single family, and it's still cash flowing today.
I'm joined today by Carla. Carla is down in San Antonio, actually Al's stomping grounds. You guys probably have talked quite a bit, I imagine, down there at the various events. And we've got a little bit of your story. Living paycheck to paycheck, no real vision for getting across the retirement finish line, but that changed when you talked with your friend who was a member at Lifestyles Unlimited, cashed out his IRA, crazy thing to do, bought an IRO, from an IRA to an IRO, independent owner of Multifamily, and you had the social proof that you needed to say, hey, this is a thing. We're going to hear about that single family that you bought, very good numbers, but I want to know, prior to joining, did you have any real investing experience under your hat?
No, not at all. My father had invested in duplexes and fourplexes, but that was back in the 80s, and he didn't know the lifestyle way. And he ended up doing a lot of work in his business, and he for very little gain. So he ended up getting out of the real estate business. And the only experience I had was watching him do a lot of work, so I never really gravitated towards that. But other than that, I had no experience doing it.
So you almost have the classic negative example of a relative or a friend that's done this thing and it didn't work out. Did that make a bigger hurdle in your head to overcome to take that first step then?
Possibly. And people that I talk to about real estate investing, they always tell me, well, I don't want to be a realtor, or I don't want to be whatever they think investing is. So I think maybe a lot of people have that mindset, but that's probably was back in the back of my mind. It was a lot of work I didn't want to do.
Yeah, but you've learned a lot since you've come to Lifestyles Unlimited, and we'll talk about the 2-day briefly. You'll learn how to do it right. People are out there doing it right and doing it well. There are people that are out there that are doing it wrong. And these are typically the people you hear from, why it's a bad idea, why they failed, why you shouldn't do it. Stop listening to those people and start listening to people like Carla's friend that brought her on board. So you get a good direction. Social proof to the positive side. And thinking about the education, and I meet members, Carla, that have their own portfolio when they join, and they maybe aren't operating it well. They come to the classes and they start performing much better. And one of the big classes, the first class most people go to, is that 2-day financial freedom seminar where we talk about single family and we talk about apartments. David Fisher teaches that in Texas. We have other teachers across the nation. When you attended that with David, aside from learning how to get to that equity in your house, what other big takeaways did you have from the 2-day?
Well, the biggest one for me was that now I have a plan. I don't have to work until I die. My husband doesn't have to work until he dies. We now have a map. We have a path. We have a not just a goal to shoot for, but we have steps to get there.
Yeah, very clear steps, right?
Yes.
And the first step you took was to buy a single-family house. You said you're a little bit afraid or nervous about multifamily. What was the big draw for you back then to do the single-family first, aside from the general fear?
It was mainly the finances. I knew I only had $25,000, and I felt like that would be the best place for me to start. since I was afraid of doing multifamily at the time, and I didn't really have the funds to really commit to it. I felt like single family was the best place to start.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for those that have less capital, that is absolutely the way to go. I did a show a few weeks ago with a gentleman named Lance. He was actually negative net worth when he started, and he went squarely down that single family path as well and has really built up the cash flow, but the equity, the net worth as well. So absolutely a good direction to go. And I actually met you, come to think of it, back in 2018. My wife and I, we've been investing here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for a decade or so now. But we said, hey, let's start checking out Houston. Let's start checking out San Antonio. And we went down there to go to one of the single-family road trips. I remember talking with you then. Do you go to many of those?
I go to as many as I can. I really enjoy learning on them. I'm doing more multifamily road trips now than single-family because our direction has changed. But I love going to those.
Yeah, they're fun. Tell just for the listeners' sake so they understand what exactly goes on at a single-family road trip. There's
usually a meeting ahead of time to get information on the property, and then you're given an address, and everybody meets at the property, and usually there are several vendors there, contractors, to evaluate the roof, the foundation, the plumbing, anything that might be needing to be repaired on the home, so you can properly estimate the cost and the income you would get from that and see if it's a good deal for you to do.
Yeah, it's just part of the education. And I'm like you, Carla. I had no experience, no background in this. I didn't even have any family that had done this before, not that I'm aware of anyhow. So I absolutely, up here in the Dallas area, fully took advantage of those road trips and went to everyone I could. And it's a huge learning experience. Like you said, there are vendors, there are experts on site that will tell you about financing or, like you said, how to evaluate that rehab, everything you need to know. And boy, I got so much more comfortable through that process. And it sounds like you did too. You bought a single family. Tell us about that. How did you find it? What was the process like?
It was very easy. I found it through an email blast from one of the Lifestyles realtors, and it did not have much rehab. Really, I could have rented it as it was, but I wanted to give it a facelift. It was dated. It needed flooring and paint, so we did that. That was the extent of the rehab, very minor. It was about $6,000 maybe in rehab, and it's been cash flowing ever since. I would have made more up front if I had done a major rehab, picked a different project for major rehab, but I wasn't ready for that. I was very comfortable with almost the turnkey, and I knew going into it that I would have to hold it longer to gain the equity. And so that's what I did. I've had it for 5 years now, and it's been cash flowing nicely, about $350 a month.
How's your equity looking now, 5 years later?
Now it's great. There's about $50,000 equity estimated in there. So I'm currently in the process of selling that to my current resident that's living there.
Oh, very good. Very good. It's a good way to go if you do it just mano a mano, right? Cut out the realtor, don't have to deal with fees, et cetera, right?
Right. He's a first-time home buyer, and he needed a little time to get his finances in order and things. So I told him I'm not going to put a time limit on it, but I don't want to make it take forever. So he's getting his paperwork together, and it'll be great to help them. It's a first-time home buyer.
Very good. And you're holding it about what we talk about, 3 to 5 years. At about 3 we go in, you didn't have a big rehab on this, but typically we go in and we fix anything that is broken or could break in the next 3 to 5 years. Hold it for that long and go ahead and dispose of that, sell that property. So you can do just like Carla's doing here and get to that equity. What are you going to do with the equity?
I'm going to invest in more multifamily.
More multifamily. Okay, very good. We're going to head into a quick break. When we come back, Carla, I found you online, on social media, on YouTube. I'm going to tell the listener how they can actually go and watch your case study that you did recently. So to the listener, stick around. I'll give you that info when we get back.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, not because that's the way it's set up, but because of the knowledge.
When put into action, knowledge is power. At Lifestyles Unlimited, we empower you to live the lifestyle of your dreams through passive real estate income. For over 30 years, our successful members share their knowledge through case studies, classes, and mentoring. Tap into the knowledge. Attend a free workshop online. Register now at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Andy Webb. If you have any questions, you can email me at askandy@luinc.com. Again, askandy@luinc.com. And I'm joined today by Carla. She's down in the San Antonio area, and she joined Lifestyles Unlimited November 2016. She and her husband realized, look, we don't really have a plan for retiring at all. And they met a friend that was a member at Lifestyles Unlimited doing very well. And that social proof was what they needed to join and to take action. And we heard in the last segment partly about one of her single family houses that she took down, the first one. And that one is about to go full cycle. And Carla, you did a case study earlier this year, I believe in the summer of 2022. Down in San Antonio. Can you just broadly tell us about a case study, what that is, why that's of value to the listener right now, and tell us about that experience of giving back?
Sure. Yes, the case studies are phenomenal because it's real people telling their story. And the more case studies I went to, the more I heard people just like me telling their story, because initially I was very intimidated. I knew I was in a room of millionaires, and I felt like I didn't belong there. Nobody made me feel that way. I just didn't feel worthy of that, and I needed to build a confidence. And the way I did that was going to the case studies and hearing people. Yes, the multifamily ones were great, but I focused in on the single family because they were just like me. And if they could do it, I could do it. And I realized the impact that had on my life. And when I was given the opportunity to tell my story, I was grateful for it because I know there's other people out there just like me.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to that notion of social proof. You happen to have the friend that was already a member and had taken a very big step, honestly. So you had that connection. Not everybody does. And if you're listening right now and you don't know somebody that is active in real estate or is a member at Lifestyles Unlimited, very, very good place to go. And the case studies, Carla, you go to the one physically probably, right, in person in San Antonio. I go down the road here in Dallas to the one when that comes up. But I also attend the ones online. So I can see what you're talking about down in San Antonio or Houston. And if the listener wants to check those out, we've set up a website for you. It makes it very easy. It's LU, stands for Lifestyles Unlimited, lucasestudy.com. You can register for any of them there. And I hinted ahead of the break, I'm going to give the listener direction to find you online so they can hear a little bit more about your story. If you go to YouTube, these are saved, these are archived out there. They'll cut down the full, what is it, 2-3 hours of case study into the constituent parts. And so, Carla, I got about 15 minutes here on YouTube of you talking about this very house. So if you go there and you search, type in Lifestyles Unlimited Carla with a C, and you're going to find Carla. It says Carla and Allen. When was this? Mid-year 2022.
That was June,
June, perfect. And you gave us some of the numbers. You said this was a little lighter rehab. I do see $6K. I've actually got the YouTube up here in front of me. Cash out of pocket, okay. $18,000. Tremendous.
Yes.
What was your cash on cash return?
Oh, let's see. That I don't remember offhand. Let me see if I have that here.
Here I got it. Cash flow is about $360 per month, $4,200 per year. So your return annually 24%. Wow. Right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So for those that are watching your 401k balance go down and the returns become negative, they've been negative for a while, negative 18, negative 20% year on the year. Here we've got a positive 24%, big numbers. But hey, you're going to give up that cash flow, as we just heard, to pull that equity out, a little over $50K. and you're going to go towards apartments. Now, have you already taken the first step towards multifamily? Where are you at in that process?
Yes, we have. We had our first one in 2019, and I did exactly what our friend did. I pulled money out of my IRA. It was easy to do because I'd heard him do it. I didn't have much to take out, but I did take out $25,000, and we invested that. There was a lead that was very gracious and accepted us into the deal as first-time investors with multifamily. So we were able to do that in 2019, and that property actually sold last December, and it was about 140% return, I think, something like that. It was wonderful for our first deal.
Very good. So 160 some odd percent return. I mean, 100% return means you've doubled your money. You put in $25K, you got $50K out, and then whatever the 67 equates to on top of that, was that $75K or something like that? No, that's bad math, Andy,
right.
But yeah.
Right.
So, but the point is very good numbers in a very short period of time, 2019 to the end of 2021, 167% return. How did you come across this opportunity? How did you find this?
We met the leads. They are actually, both of us at the time lived in Livonia, which is just east of San Antonio, and I had met them at Expo but didn't really connect with them until we got back home and realized they were in Livonia. So we met up in Livonia, and I met with them and talked with them about what their investing goals were, and I really liked them. So the next time they had a deal open, I was able to invest with them. So that's how we got started, was, again, meeting the leads and knowing who they were.
Yeah, it's having that connection. I want to go back to something you said when you first went to one of the Lifestyles events. You said you didn't feel worthy to be in the room, right? You were intimidated, all these millionaires. But then you go on to say, this is in the bio in the show notes here, everyone was very welcoming and open. And I think for the listener's sake, there are a lot of people that are type B, very shy, introverts, and will have a hard time like you did, going to these events. And I want them to understand these people are very, very giving. Whether it's single-family investors that are way along the track, or to your story, the lead investor that happened to be from your town, very giving, usually pretty modest. They understand it's not a zero-sum game. If you win, I lose. We have an abundance mentality, which is one of the reasons that Carla gave back on the case study and now on the radio program. And it's one of the reasons that we're open with our numbers. It's why we do share these at the case study, to help those people that maybe are struggling, right? I can't do this. I'm not worth it. Whatever the problem is in their head, to get over that. There's a number side, and then there's the things you share as part of your life in that case study. So you found the couple that were in your neighborhood and said, I'm going to invest with them. Did you have any other, investing criteria that you were looking for in your first apartment investment?
Not necessarily. I know everybody was looking for cash flow, but I knew that at $25,000, that wasn't going to be enough to really give me much cash flow to count on. We were mainly looking at investing to get to double our money, to have more to invest. Our eventual goal is to invest for cash flow. Right now, We're just trying to invest to grow our ability to do that.
So to grow your capital, so you can invest more. Yeah. So you did that first with single family. Again, for the listener, a lot of people do that. Great way to build capital. You can do that on the apartment side. Now, sometimes if we're going, Carla, I looked at an opportunity recently. It's not going to cash flow for something like 24 months, but it's a very, very deep value add. The equity, the potential for equity gain on the back end is tremendous. So there can be some trade-offs. So that one sold. Where was this apartment?
In San Antonio.
It was in San Antonio. Okay. Did you have an opportunity to go take a look at it, see what the lead investor was doing?
Yes, we went a couple of times to check it out. It was also a deep value play. It was kind of scary, but it was fun to do.
I'm joined today by Carla. She's from the San Antonio area. We've heard a lot of her stories so far, and I pointed you to YouTube. Just do a search on YouTube for Lifestyles Unlimited and Carla with a C, and the case study that she presented back in June of 2022. That's there. You can see the numbers. We talked about the numbers, but I know these kind of fly by on radio. You don't have any whiteboard or anything in front of you, so you can see all of that there and get her full story. I'm curious, at the case study, did you get a lot of questions from the audience?
A few, not very many.
No? Well, an important thing for the listener, if you're not in San Antonio or not in one of our brick and mortar offices, you can do that online, like I mentioned, and it is live. So you can typically we'll get questions from the online audience as well. Sometimes it's real operational stuff, right, Carla? Hey, well, how did you find a tenant? How who was your lender? How did that work? And sometimes it's more bigger picture type stuff around mindset. So we hear it all. And we heard a little bit about your mindset at the outset. It was not a very positive one with respect to retirement, but I think, and we'll talk about this at the end of the segment, I think that shifted massively thanks to what you've done in houses and now apartments. So we heard about one apartment. What are you doing now on the multifamily side?
Right now we have one investment in Portland, Texas, down by Corpus, and we have another one in the works that's closing tomorrow, and that one is in San Antonio. Closing tomorrow.
Okay, congratulations.
Yes, we're excited. It's with the same leads as before, so that we're following their success.
It's pretty common, isn't it?
Yes.
So typically somebody, we call them aspiring leads. A lead is a syndicator. That's the person that puts together the apartment investment. And when they're trying to find that first apartment investment and get a bunch of passive investors to participate, right? We just put our money in, Carla. We call those aspiring leads because they're not really tested yet. Now, we know they've done all the education at Lifestyles Unlimited, so they're set on that end, but they're aspiring. But it's very common to then ride the coattails and continue to invest because you've seen good success already, as we heard. Why not give it another go?
Right. They did great.
So that's San Antonio. The other one is in Portland. You and I were talking, so I mentioned that we ran into each other down at the case study in Austin. Figured out, hey, we're in the same investment together, so we'll continue to watch that. What is the outlook? What's the planned hold times for each of these investments? When do you think you'll get your cash back?
I believe it's going to be a little longer. I think the distributions are supposed to start after the first year. I think one of them said possibly after the third quarter, so maybe it'll be before the first year. But we knew that going in. We're not using it for the cash flow at this time. We're using it to build wealth so that with the next round we'll have investments that will bring us more cash flow.
Yeah, cash flow incidental for you because you're trying to build the capital. And then we are seeing a little bit longer hold times right now is the plan. But Carl, I'll tell you, I went into one also in Corpus where the plan was to hold it for 3 to 5 years, and they did so well that it sold in 18 months. I mean, if they're performing and someone wants to buy it at a good price, let's get it going and let's turn that money.
We're excited about that.
I want to go to the notion of continuing to build your multifamily portfolio. Are you now placing the equity from the house you're selling in these coming investments, or is that future apartment investments that we're going to hear about?
It's going to be future. He hasn't made the sale yet, so I expect that within the next couple of months. And so that'll be another multifamily deal.
Okay, so you've parlayed the sale of one apartment community, it sounds like, into two. So we've doubled the asset count, the investment there. You'll sell the house, get the 50+ K out of that, and put that into potentially one or two more apartments?
Correct.
Yeah, very good. How are you finding these leads that you're investing with? Now, we heard about the one. You happen to know them. They're in your town. Where are you going to track these great people down?
I am going to more events. I am on the list of several leads that I've reached out by email that, honestly, I prefer to know who they are and know more about them. And I know I can't stay just in the San Antonio area, but I am been staying close. I've been in San Antonio and Austin and going to as many of the events as I can to meet more people and see what their goals are and if it's somebody I'd like to get to know better and invest with. It's mainly the case studies that I've been going to and the meetups. I've been to several meetups lately.
Okay. Now, we talked about the single-family road trip. Those tend to occur on a Saturday. If you're not in the area where those happen, we do those. You can attend those virtually as well. You're working. Are you able to get out to the multifamily road trips as well?
Yes, I can because I'm off on Friday, so that's wonderful.
Perfect. Very good. I've met a lot of people here in the Dallas offices that have come up for the road trips. Have you stuck to San Antonio, or are you making a couple road trips here and there to Houston and Dallas as well?
I have not been to Houston and Dallas, but that is on my list of things to do.
Okay, well, when you come up to Dallas, let us know. I'll certainly be there as well. For the
Great.
listener who's hearing us talk, hey, great, you guys are all in Texas. I can't do that. But again, you can, because this is all done virtually. So I was just looking at the calendar for Lifestyles here prior to our show, and I see that we have actually these various events in Phoenix. Here I've got one in Austin. I'm not driving down to Austin, but I can attend that virtually. Baltimore, well, that's in person, can't do that. Mountain View, California, multifamily road trip. So there's a lot of opportunity, whether it's in person in one of these farther, areas outside of our main brick and mortar representation, or doing it virtually. I want to go back now, Carla, to that opening quote. I took this again out of your bio. It says, "It wasn't a matter of retiring early. It was a matter of retiring at all." How has your outlook changed?
Oh, tremendously. By being around the Lifestyles people, the millionaires that I was afraid to talk to, once I finally got the courage to do that, they were so welcoming, and here, let me show you this, and call me if you need that, and just totally open book. And I think initially I just felt like, since we had negative net worth, that I just wasn't worthy to be in that room. And I didn't see myself getting out of that hole. I didn't see myself as millionaire material. But the people that I met there, showing me the map, showed me that, yes, you can. You can do this. And it's changed tremendously, because it's not just a matter of the money. It's a whole confidence step that we do belong there. And there's no reason why we couldn't do that. And now we're there. I'm one of the people that I used to be intimidated by.
Yeah, it's mindset.
Yes.
And that's a big thing to overcome. I mean, our world is in our heads, essentially, things that we perceive, and sometimes we perceive things incorrectly and have fears that we build up that prevent us from taking actually a very easy step. It's not hard to go and listen to a case study. There's no real commitment there. It's not hard to check out the website and maybe do the free workshop. It's very easy steps, and you may gain momentum that way, or it may be meeting somebody, getting that social proof through someone or maybe just by listening to Carla or checking out her case study presentation on YouTube. Whatever it takes, you have to get over that hurdle. And a lot of these, again, are just preconceived notions in your own head that are holding you back. It's just simple fear. What are your goals going forward? Maintain the
multifamily as we can, and then when these properties double in 3 to 5 years, reinvest that, and then at that point we should have enough cash flow to have both of us retire, and possibly before then. We plan to continue working temporarily until we have a few more successes under our belt.
Yeah, very good. And how are the kids? How did you mention kids? How are they perceiving all of this?
They're excited about it. I'm telling them about it. None of them has taken the step to join, or I think they've listened to some of the things online, but not really making an effort to commit yet. So I'm not sure if they're watching us to see our success, or they're just probably busy getting their life going, and it's something they'll do one of these days. But I'm hoping they will see the light sooner, because I don't want them going through what we went through.
Yeah. I don't know how old your kids are. My 5-year-old, he doesn't listen to a word I say. When he decides he's ready for it, then he'll do it.
Yeah. Well, they're grown adults living great lives, and they're doing wonderful. But as we always know, what gets in the way of a great life is a good life. So I'm hoping I can show them how they can do it too.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, we become complacent. We become comfortable when we could perform so much better. Our potential is so far greater than what so many of us often realize, because it's easier. It's comfortable.
Right.
Well, I have to tell you, I thank you very heartily for both giving back at the recent case study. Again, for the listener, go to YouTube, do a search for Lifestyles Unlimited, 2 words, Lifestyles Unlimited, and then Carla with a C. And you can watch that. It's about 15 minutes. And at the case study, it's usually one presenter on single family. Then we've got another one. So there are others out there. Go to our YouTube channel. You can watch more. And if you're interested in apartments, that's out there as well. So I thank you for giving back then. And I do thank you very much for coming on the show today to share your experience. I think your feelings going into this and your mindset is very common across the nation right now. And I'd like people to really give that another thought, another go, and improve their lives. So Carla, thank you for joining. And remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. You have a great day.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.